Hello, welcome. Everyone got the pizza that they need, the water that they need. I'm Michael. I've been with the Mesh for a couple of years now, and I'm here to MC tonight. Welcome everyone. For the people returning, thanks for coming back. For the people that are new, you have a great night ahead of you. This night is split up into two different parts. The first part will be about half an hour. We have three different presentations from Willem on Tiago's hub diagrams and the install questionnaire. Scott just came back from Hawaii on a trip with a vacation, but also some work with community networks, and Brian's going to give an update about the mesh over the past month. So we'll have those three presentations, and then afterwards we'll go off into different working groups for installs, for the network operation, and for new members, just to get a sense of what the mesh is and how you can participate. So with that, we'll bring up Willem to talk about Tiago's hub diagrams.
Thank you, Michael. Before I talk about Tiago's excellent work, I just have one announcement to make, and I hope you weren't already going to announce it. I don't want to steal your thunder. Brian, I have some really great news to share. As many of you know, we did this install-a-thon about a month ago on Parkside Avenue, bringing the mesh to Prospect Lefferts Gardens. It was done with a grant from the Internet Society, and on that day, in fact, there were install-a-thons, or chapter-thons as they called them, all over the world. And among all those chapter-thons, we placed first in the chapter-thon contest, I guess.
Thanks to Darby and Leslie.
Thanks to Darby and Leslie for documenting, for making an amazing video that we submitted to ISOC. And out of that, I think we won a first prize of $3,000. Not sure if that's before or after taxes, but so I've already thanked everyone last org meeting, but just another big round of applause to the video team and also to all of the people who participated in the install-a-thon for making it the best in the world. I just want to present also quickly some work done by Tiago, who's our kind of Greenpoint organizer and who's not here tonight. This work emerges from a small meeting that we had also about a month ago, in which the focus was talking about how to set up hubs and getting more people involved in building hubs. The meeting was open mostly to more experienced install leaders and other people who had expressed interest. And I think we were working on disseminating that information more broadly. But one of the takeaways was that we thought it would be nice to have some really slick diagrams showing how all of our existing hubs work. And Tiago went ahead and did that. So now we have a number of our different hubs, all documented with these nice diagrams that show all of the different routers involved, what ports are connected to what other ports on those routers, and how that's all supported by either a single member in that building or by another location. So for example, you see here at Saratoga, which is one of our biggest and most important hubs in Brooklyn, everything's being powered not from an individual apartment, but from AC power near the roof, I think in the elevator machine room or near it. But although Tiago isn't here, big congrats to him for putting this together. We're going to get this up on the website in the near future, so it's more accessible. The big takeaway from that meeting is it's actually really easy to set up a hub. I had always had this impression that it's this really hard, advanced level thing. And so I think we were successful, and a big thank you especially to Olivier for really leading that discussion at getting more people up to speed on how to make those installations. So that's it for me, and I'll pass it now over to Scott.
Where are you posting this?
Right now, this is located on the #design channel in Slack, but we aim to post this to the docs. eventually, which is docs.nycmesh.net. Tiago and I are going to work on the best way to upload that. But for now, if you're really gung-ho about setting up a hub or want to learn more, check out the hashtag design channel in Slack where they're posted as a PDF. So more to follow. Okay. Over to you, Scott.
Hi, everybody. My name's Scott. I'm a mesh person. And just wanted to talk a little bit about a great opportunity that Mesh participated in this last year that I had the great honor and privilege of representing NYC Mesh at. It was in Hawaii, which is really, really great, but actually does occur all over North America. It's an annual conference called the Indigenous Connectivity Summit that's put on by ISOC. Again, another a very close friend to Mesh, and of which we're kind of a member in many ways. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what that experience was like and share it with everybody with a couple of outcomes that I thought were pretty exciting and cool that I wanted to take back and share with our community here. So we officially participated in this roundtable about Native and Indigenous connectivity fundamentals. And so leading up to the conference, we participated in a lot of workshops and other sorts of ways to try to educate folks about community networks and how they operate. The conference was attended almost entirely by Indigenous communities across North America. So everybody, folks from Northwest Territories, across the Southwest, in Hawaii also, and particularly we're working with a Native Hawaiian community in Oahu to be able to set up a community network for the first time. And so these are just some of what we were talking about. But overall, the kind of conference was actually sponsored by the Internet Society. As I mentioned, a little background about the Internet Society. If everybody here isn't familiar with who they are, they're an international advocacy organization. Up until very recently, they actually owned the .org domain name, which is now a controversial subject. But nonetheless, Still do. Right, they're in process with ICANN right now. But nonetheless, they do incredible work. And a lot of that work actually is supporting NYC Mesh and people like us all over the planet. As Willem kind of mentioned, there was a chapter-a-thon that had 29 countries participating in it, which we're really honored to have been able to win. Another big participant in this was an organization called MuralNet, which is really, really cool. I just want to highlight them because everybody should know about the great work that they do. They're really focused on supporting tribes to be able to own the spectrum over their tribal lands and over their sovereign territory. And so they actually do that through petitions to the FCC to be able to actually have access to spectrum and then be able to use that to set up community networks on tribal lands. It's a really, really cool organization. They do great work. We should absolutely find ways to be their friends and support their efforts, which I'll get to at the end of this very short presentation. This is just an outline. This is where we were. This was the community that we are operating and building a community network in. It's actually quite a bit different than how NYC Mesh operates. It's all operated over 4G, but it was a really incredible experience in that a lot of the conversations that were taking place in this space, and particularly for this community, which is a Native Hawaiian community, doesn't actually recognize the federal government's ownership of Hawaii and is trying to create a sovereign land in Hawaii. What was really interesting and exciting about a lot of the conversations were conversations about sovereignty and self-determination. And I really think that that's an exciting, cool thing that our community, being in New York, actually has in common with a lot of community networks everywhere. So, we spent 2 days building and educating folks about community networks. And in many ways, it was doing a lot of the work that we do every day here, which was really exciting to see replicated elsewhere. It's kind of hands-on education, doing seminars like what we were recently doing at the Queens Public Library that Zach was leading a presentation on, and doing work to try to give people the tools, knowledge, and resources they need to be able to join a community network, get access online, and be able to join a larger community. This was kind of the whole team that we were a part of, but I'll just skip ahead to some takeaways that I really wanted to kind of bring to, which is the kind of purpose of this conversation that I just wanted to offer and share with everyone is NYC Mesh was invited to be an ally and participant in the forthcoming North American Indigenous chapter of ISOC. And I'd really love to try to find ways that we can be supportive of our brother and sister community networkers through that space. Another is I wanted to look into and explore the idea and would love to talk with other folks. This really helped catalyze, and I know a lot of other folks have represented NYC Mesh at other sorts of international and national forums and do cool conferences and end up meeting lots of great people doing really exciting work in the community network space. And I want to try to find ways that we can foster that kind of ongoing collaboration. I think a lot of times we meet people, whether they be in Greece or in South Africa or other places in the US that are doing exciting work. And we often have people reach out to us saying, hey, I want to start a community network in my community. What do I need to know? Or other folks are simply trying to create a place where we can collaborate and do that kind of work. I know that Jillian has been talking about trying to put something together for North American community networks next year, and NYC Mesh could potentially be a host of that. And in light of trying to work towards that aim, I was thinking about, should we create something like a hashtag community networks on our Slack channel that we can invite other folks to be able to participate in? So it's an idea that I'm really interested in and I'd love to share with others, and I'd love for others to be involved in trying to find ways that we can foster that kind of collaboration and learn and kind of learning from across the country or world. And then also within that, the other kind of take home that I was having that I'd love to offer is trying to do more of that work by inviting others into our space. There's a lot of really cool and exciting community networks around the world that are doing really great work. One of the newest ones is this community in Hawaii that was a thrill to participate in. And it'd be a lot of fun to be able to invite folks to do a 5 or 10 minute presentation at some of these org meetings, live stream it here so that we can start building those kinds of relationships with others in other communities. So that is the end of my brief presentation, but just wanted to share with everybody to know that NYC Mesh we're often very much in our bubble in New York here, but I really want to find ways to foster collaboration with other communities that are doing a lot of the same work that we are. So thanks so much for listening, and come talk to me if any of these topics are of interest to you.
I'll add on some comments to that, which is you can watch that thing because we live streamed it, that event from Hawaii, if you go to the Internet Society live stream. And then apart from that possible SIG or chapter for American Indigenous people, there is a community networking SIG on ISOC which is underused, which should be used. And the thing is that this is a project of the New York chapter, but if you get involved in another SIG, in other SIGs, then when you want to do things like apply for grants and make projects, if you've got two SIGs, two chapters and a SIG all working together, it's more power to you. So and then lastly I'll say is that on the global scene, APC is doing very great work on community networks, right?
Check. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm just going to give a bit of an update on what's been going on. First of all, today we had a bit of an emergency. Our Henry Street hub went down because of the connection to Supernode 1. So this has been an ongoing problem, and I was the one that went down there in the rain. I was on the rooftop today trying to fix it. And one thing I did today was put up a backup connection to Supernode 1, which we might be able to use and stop this problem from happening. We've really, the whole downtown area has been a bit shaky because of the 60 gigahertz point-to-points fail in heavy rain. So we need backup connections between them. So this is something we're working on, and I think we might have solved the problem for at least for Henry Street today. So that was how I spent my day today, getting wet on a roof. The worst part of it, it's near an exhaust pipe too, so I got the rain and the exhaust, and it wasn't a good day. I wanted to go over a problem we've been having on installs. which is people have been unplugging their TP links and plugging the wrong power supply into the TP link. I'll show you what they've been doing. This is a power supply for the OmniTick, and so this goes into the TP link here, and it's really not a good thing because you've got all this. You have all this wiring coming up right next to the TP link, and they've got to try and put that on a shelf and stuff. And what happens is they unplug this and they unplug everything, and they stick the OmniTick power supply into the TP link, and it just smokes and blows up. So this has happened twice in the past few weeks. People have done it. So we got to stop doing this. And what I want to do is, so we just get a coupler on these things and stick that on the end there, and use a patch cable longer than this one, and that way we have the important stuff that goes to the roof in one spot, and then we have the TP link somewhere safe on a shelf somewhere else. I think we've all got to start doing that because it just doesn't work the way we've been doing it. And also, when you use the outdoor cable, when you haven't got a power supply and you plug it straight into the TP link, that doesn't work either. You sit it down on the shelf and the TP link goes out. We shouldn't do that, so we'll do the same thing. We'll use a coupler and keep the outdoor stuff to a minimum inside the apartment. So you just get it inside the window until power. Oh no, you don't need power. Just get it inside the window and then do the coupler and then into the TP link like that. So yeah, that's going to stop people blowing up their TP links, and it also strains the RJ45 when you do that. So yeah, so if every install leader can start ordering these couplers and patch cables, and we'll help with our service calls.
Use the mic, please.
Back to the mic. Yeah. Another thing, we're very short on money. Each month we've been going down to like just under 3,000. We got to like 2,800 a couple of weeks ago, and we've really we have this one big underutilized resource, which is OmniTicks on people's roof with only one apartment, and you can do 4 apartments from one OmniTick, or 5 if it's an Omni only install. So what we need to do is go back to these buildings that have underutilized OmniTicks and just leaflet them. And this means the installs don't cost us very much because all the hardware's there. It's just cable and a TP link. So this is one way we can start to get our bank balance a bit more healthy, is doing this. And Oliver's got a list of all these buildings, so we're going to decide which ones to target and then just schedule it, and whoever's interested or around can come and help us leaflet buildings. Yeah, our large installs are still taking a long time, and I realize it's partly my fault, and that we're doing things sequentially rather than parallel, and we really should be working on lots of things at the same time. Like Grand Street, everyone's waiting for the antennas to get installed at the top, but there's so much else to be doing there. And we're trying to be decentralized, but we're not really doing that at the moment. We're doing everything serial instead of in parallel. So I'm going to put much more effort into getting things organized in parallel, and I think all of us can work on this. There's sometimes like Tiago's gone away for 2 or 3 weeks, and so a lot of Greenpoint stuff's going to get on hold unless we look after what he's been doing. So we've got to make sure that we don't think that one person's looking after it when we could be helping them or doing some other related task. But yeah, Grand Street, there's 3 completely separate things we should be working on all at the same time. And the same thing's happening with hubs. We have this mental block about finishing a hub or starting a hub. There's somewhere we've got these great rooftops and nobody's working on them at all. And there's some that are waiting on Grand, but we can do it, nearly everything before Grand's finished. So we should start working on all the hubs that are even depending on Grand Street. Thanks.
Thanks to Willem, Scott, and Brian for those presentations. So now we're going to go off into our breakout groups. We'll have 3 groups at least. One for new members, anyone that's new to the Mesh and wants to know what is this thing. Another one for network operation, and another one for installations. Basically what Brian was just talking about, how can we get more engaged with the hubs and installing more apartments and leafleting apartments as well. So the new members group is going to be way back down the hall, take the right at the end of the hall. Network operation, I guess, in the big conference room midway down the hall, and then installation in here. And also feel free to talk to anyone, form your own groups, and have fun. Yeah, thank you.